your interest and problem of practice that you'll be dealing with, it's got to kind of be a perfect storm. You want to go through your coursework. I mean, maybe our course will spur some interest in the change process, and that may be something you want to latch onto. But the perfect storm being, what you're learning, through your coursework, a professor maybe that would have an interest in what it is that you're doing, and then a problem that it matches up with in your school. Any one of those three can lead the process. So when I say a perfect storm, it's like the three, all three kind of align.
So just to kind of repeat that to make sure I have it down. So the professor's interests,
right,
with the problem that we have,
right,
and our interests, so that would match up together.
Right.
That would be the perfect storm.
Right. Well, with something maybe that you're learning about in your coursework.
Something that
I mean, maybe not, but
okay.
From that list of people,
right.
I mean, there's only a handful of them that are in my department. The rest of them are in the teacher prep.
Right.
And they're nervous, quite honestly, about doing this, because I've had to encourage them along, and because they're saying, well, I don't really know, if it's I keep saying to them, if it's something in your field, that you're dealing with, it's not just about leadership per se, it's not about administration. It could be about content, it could be about curriculum, it could be, in an area of your expertise.
Do you think that they're nervous just because it's new?
Yeah, and that they were not fully aware of what the expectation was for a dissertation. And what I've done is, you'll be getting this over the summer, is I put together a dissertations
That's
reference
awesome.
guide, right?
Great.
And it's like a 30-page document, and it really goes through every aspect of what our dissertation is to look like, from the three types of dissertations that we expect, and then I go into describing the 5 chapters and what that really should look like, and the steps in the process, and the role of the dissertation chair, selecting the chair and so forth, right on through.
So cohort 1
Right.
hasn't received that yet. The
Yes,
manual.
they have.
Oh, they have.
They have. I've sent
Okay.
an electronic copy to all of them, and I've sent one to every person who has expressed an interest in serving as a chair. Not everybody on that list. I didn't send it to everybody. I sent it to the people who made a connection with a candidate.
Okay.
And they've discussed, and they're on the same page. It looks like they're gonna, informally, it looks like they're gonna have a connection.
So cohort 1, most of them already have selected a chair?
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
all. No, not most of them. I would say I put together a spreadsheet. I think out of 16, I'm gonna say probably 7 of them have selected a chair. Right now, where they are is this. In that summer course that I teach, we talk about a research prospectus. That's the prelude to a research proposal. The research proposal is the formal document, which again includes chapter 1, chapter 2, and portions of chapter 3. That's a document that you're going to go in with to defend, before your committee, to say, okay, this is a good study, an inquiry, we're going to go with that. the prospectus is really a 5-page, although some of them stretched out to 9, 10 pages. It's really kind of fleshing out your thoughts about what you want to do, and and really running it by me first, and I'm providing feedback for them. So some people are well on their way, and have a good sense of where they're going, and they got good feedback from me, and they have somebody who's interested in their work, and they're ready to go. While others are still wondering, as Dr. Dan has said, they wonder about what they could possibly do. So and they've run a couple of different ideas by me, and and so through my questioning and comments, they decided to go in a different direction. So that's kind of where some of them are. And I say this to every candidate, and I said it to you, it's a process. And we're going to talk about this in our class next week. There's point A and there's point B. Okay? You're at point A. You need to get to point B. It's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be like this and like this and like this and like this. Some people's pathway to point B is going to be a little bit less complicated or complex than some, but it's going to be a process, and you have to accept that.
So when was that class in the summer that you had with them, or
Yes.
you're currently okay? So that's when they first started doing the research prospectus, and then
That's
when
correct.
they met with you, were you guiding them towards any individuals to be the chair?
No.
So you didn't. That's all up to them. You're
It's
not
all
kind
up
of
to them.
leading them
No.
to anybody.
No.
Okay.
And what I did with them is I brought them, I gave them a list of dissertations that were done at the University of Florida, because I connected with a professor from the University of Florida while I was down there, and she graciously agreed to come up here and present, and she was excellent. She's been at this for 15 years or so, and so she's got a handle on what it's all about. So she came up and talked about the dissertation, the action research dissertation, which is what we're doing. And so I brought them to the library, and they looked up some dissertations, and they read them, and so they got a sense of what an action research dissertation looks like.
Okay. So let's go back to kind of the process of so the process of identifying a dissertation chair will be based on our interests,
Right.
the interest and connection that we have with the professor.
Right.
They match both of those things, if we match personality wise
Right.
and interest wise and so forth. And it hopefully is going to be based on something that we're doing currently in our work, either at school or something that we've had an interest based on a class that we've had here.
That's right.
All right. So that's the
May I just ask
yeah,
a
go
question?
ahead.
So but is it, if it's not, is it connected to your work, or if it's, does it have to actually, for action research? I think this is one of the things that I won't speak for everyone, but I think, does it have to be what you're actually doing, but something connected to the field of education where you are? Because we have such a varied group of people doing so many different things in our group. We have secondary people, elementary people, we have a teacher, we have ETS folks,
So the problem of practice has to be relevant to your particular role in the school district or the school that you're in. And then you're going to work
Yeah.
with them.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit in terms of timeline. What does a timeline look like in that selection process? So to move forward in the entire dissertation process, does it come, the first part would be figuring out the topic and then getting clearance from you,
Right.
and then reaching out to
It's
somebody?
all kind of simultaneously
Okay.
happening. So after that summer, session, you're going to have a lot of anxiety, I think, and what you want to do is kind of take from the end of that class till September, when school starts and you're all busy and what have you, opening school. Take that time just to really start seriously thinking. Go look at the, you'll have, at that point you should have a sense of perhaps some
A framework of what you
wonderings,
wanna-
as
okay.
Nancy calls it,
Okay.
of what you want to do. Go look at some dissertations that deal with that topic. Go do a literature search on that topic and try to find. I mean, it's not going to just all come to you like that.
Okay.
It's not going to just flow like that. It's going to be a work in progress. So go do some literature searches and see what's out there. What's been done. What are some of the folks who are interested in that particular area or that field are doing, and that'll kind of guide you and generate some interest for you, in forming a sense of direction.
Do you?
Making sure. So timeline is pretty much, it all is kind of happening at the same time,
Yeah.
simultaneously, the selection of the chair. Once we kind of massage our topic,
Right.
and we have we've got that solidified, then we would reach out to somebody. We've got your approval.
Right.
Then we would reach out. At a particular point in the program, does it have to be done? So does it have to be before the spring, for this cohort 1 now, before they take dissertation 1, in
Well,
essence?
yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I've got, you'll see, I created a timeline because one of the students said to us, over the summer, can you create a timeline for us?
Right.
So I did, and it's in that guide. And so the answer is, if you want to, and I say this, and I don't want to make you nervous about it, and I said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again. Nobody's going to be holding a gun to your head to say,
Right.
you have to finish this program in 3 years. That's the goal. That's the way it's been designed, and the majority of you will. But things have to happen for you, and everything has to fall in place. And so, in response to your question, time-wise, you take the summer course, you develop, you take that time in between the end of the summer session and start of school, and bleeding into September and October, whatever, of this year, like cohort 1 is doing. Develop your, think about your topic and zero in. If it all works out, you're going to be in good shape.
Right.
But if it doesn't, I say to them, it can take you into January.
Okay.
I mean, so some people, as I said, some people have a topic that they have a go on. They have somebody's interested in working with them. They've talked to their superintendent already. They're doing some research on the topic, maybe even starting to develop their surveys or whatever, their approach to collecting data. So they're in really good shape.
Yeah.
But there are others, again, that really don't know. So it's okay if you're not at this point.
Right.
It's only October. It's okay. I would say when you're starting to get into January and you're not there yet, then that could set you back a little bit.
Because then you wouldn't be able to take dissertation 1.
Well, you'll take dissertation 1,
Okay.
but you may use most of dissertation 1 to really just develop your program. But by the end of dissertation 1, if you're not ready to defend, then you may not defend until dissertation 2.
With this current process, and I know you're still kind of going through it and you're tweaking it, what would you say are the strengths of it, of selecting the chair? Just that particularly, just the chair part.
What are the strengths?
Yeah.
Well, I think the strengths are that you have the latitude to select the chair based on your needs and interests and you know, an opportunity. Again, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
You have this. So these
Right.
people said, I will be open to serving as a chair. This is what I do. So you could kind of look at that and so that's a positive. The second positive is you have me as a second on your committee, which is good because I'm with you right from the beginning, so I will understand your work. So if there's a question by the chair or even the third person on your committee, I can bridge that.
And is the third person, can that be a choice
Yes,
outside?
that's your choice. Yes.
Okay,
But
so
it needs-
that could be, as Rachel was saying, could be possibly a superintendent.
Yes.
If they have an interest in the safety, or in our case, if that was a safety issue, I might ask my business administrator,
Yes.
because that's kind of his realm.
But they have to have a degree.
I do agree. What do you think right now are the challenges? You kind of talked about them, but if you can just be a little
Challenges
specific.
about what?
Selecting the dissertation chair for people.
In our program.
Yeah.
The challenges are, again, that I think finding, you know, the person that matches up with what your needs are. Because I think first and foremost, unlike me, I chose mine based on the professor, you know, and his interests, not necessarily mine. I would like you to work from what your interests are and what your needs are, and then try to find the professor that would work with you. And the fact that another strength is that you know you have me on a committee and that you have a choice in a third. You know, and the chair's going to work with you for 4 semesters. The chair in the early stages, the chair should really be guiding you through refining your problem of practice and you know, establishing your research question or questions. That's first and foremost, and then deciding on the data that you'll collect, the type of data that you're going to, type of study that you're going to be doing, whether it be qualitative or quantitative, what, you know, and the various types of data collection under those 2 different types of research. They're really they're the guiding force, I think, in the whole process. I mean, once you get past me with the prospectus, they're the ones, and they're the ones that are going to approve your, you know, along with me as the program director, your committee, but they're going to set up your defense. They're going to it's like the cooperating teacher is to the student teacher,
Okay.
in a sense. Or the mentor is to the new teacher that you assign to them. It should be a good working relationship, a good trusting relationship. You know, you should have access to them. And you're going to develop a good rapport with them.
So what type of questions, when we are going to meet with them, should we ask?
It really depends on your topic, I think. You know, how much of a need you have for their input, or do you have the, are you providing the sense of direction, I mean, I can tell you from experience, having served on dissertation committees, that I try to bring it out of you, I push you, I question you, I'll direct you. It's not what you get out of me. It's my role to get it out of you so that you can come to some understanding of what it is that you need to do.
And then will there be sign-off paperwork that we have?
Yes.
So there'll be paperwork that
There'll
we
be
have to go-
formal paperwork to sign that, it really, in essence, becomes a contract between the university and you. And that usually happens, there'll be a signing that someone will say, I will serve as your chair, but then after you finish and have been approved through the research proposal, then it becomes a contract.
Okay,
So prior to that, it's an agreement
Okay.
that you have.
okay,
But once the committee meets and says, yes, we approve this topic, we approve this kind of research, this inquiry, and this action research dissertation, we'll all sign off on it. There's a binding, so in other words, and this it happened to some of my colleagues, and it happened to me, but it happened to them where the professor left
yeah.
in the middle of it.
Imagine.
But the university had an obligation to put someone in place to
Okay.
help them finish through. Now, in my case, my guy didn't leave. He
Right.
was,
I see.
yeah.
So if someone was to move on from here to Princeton, then the university would be obligated to find us another chair, or do we have to then start the process again to find a chair?
I think you would work cooperatively to do that, but I think the burden would be on the university.
Which is you, right?
Yeah. Right.
When we say the university, it's
Right.
you.
So,
True.
excuse me. Is there any, other than just the person who's interested in what your topic is, like, is there any way to, do you have to compensate?
I was just gonna ask that.
You?
Have to compensate? Because I remember I'm
The
thinking
chair.
of leaders to leaders. Like, you get it, like you said, it's like a mentor to the mentee relationship. We compensated our leaders to leaders mentor.
No, the university is compensating a chair. We're paying them per semester.
So if they take this on,
They get
so
paid.
they get paid. And can they take on unlimited numbers of people, or does
Well,
it a
like,
because-
Dr. O'Neill has taken on 4.
Wow.
I mean, she asked me, do I have a problem with that? I said, no, I don't have a problem with it, because she's committed to this whole process, and she said she would do it. She said, people have approached her, so I said, fine, if you feel comfortable with it and you think you can handle that, then go ahead. I don't think I would say, you would take any more than that on.
Yeah.
That probably would be the limit. But there are others that are doing 2.
Okay. So do you think that's going to be a challenge then when we come through, that finding someone because they're already with, Dr. O'Neill obviously is out of the picture at this point for our cohort if she already has 4 people.
Yes and no.
Depending on
they'll be
timing,
done,
I guess
yeah,
she
right,
could come
yeah.
is available.
There
might be some
They should
overlap.
be done. Yes, there might be some overlap. They should be done by May. That's not Trevor, is it? No. Hi, Joe. they should be done. I mean, a good majority of them should be done by May of 2020. So you're not really going to start with with a chair until
Fall of 2019, from what I'm following.
well,
That's when we're gonna have kind of.
actually it would be spring of 20.
That would be the
You're just-
dissertation one class.
right.
But it sounds like we would be
Yeah, you
in
would
the same
start
place
making
next
connection,
next
yes, right.
September, October.
Right.
We should kind of be
Right.
making that selection.
Mhm.
But they don't really have to do anything till later on.
Right. They're just really gonna be guiding you. I mean, the work of a dissertation chair really takes root, I think, leading up to the dissertation or the research proposal.
Yeah.
And then candidates really go off, and while I'm going to keep them together, the chair is really not going to be directly involved in that. They're going to go off and do their work, and they'll touch base with the chair occasionally. I mean, if there's an issue that I feel I need to get involved with, I will.
So they guide them in the beginning in terms of the topic, talking about the quantitative, qualitative, how they're going to collect the data, approve all of those things.
Right.
And then once the candidate goes out and kind of starts working on it, they're just doing check-ins. Like how
Yeah.
strenuous is it for them, that
It's
they're
not- it's
they're
not
just
a-
really meeting.
Yes,
And reading over
Right.
documents,
Right.
double checking.
that's correct.
Okay.
And there are timeline. You have to give them a couple of weeks. You submit something. You're not going to expect turnaround
Right.
in like 2
Right.
or 3 days. They're busy too. But they're not going to be coming out to your school and meeting with you and and observing your what you're doing and whatever. I mean, they're just monitoring
Right.
your work.
And does the whole team need to get together, or just
The whole
chair?
team doesn't get together. They get together twice.
Okay.
They get together at defense of the research proposal defense, and then they get together at the defense of the dissertation.
Okay.
So at the very beginning and at the very end.
The Carnegie program?
Yes,
Okay.
they call them convenings, and they have convenings twice a year, and they bring together. I mean, there's 100 schools, 100 colleges and universities that offer EDD programs that are members of this organization, and they come together and they zero in. They have a variety of different topics, and last session, fortunately for me, was one of the session was a panel discussion on their dissertation.
Okay.
And how they handled that, and there were 7 people sitting up there, and there were 7 ways that they deal with dissertations, and you just have to know. I know my students. I know this university, and I have a sense of where I wanted to go with all this based on my research. And so I picked the things that I thought fit with what I wanted this program to be. And I'm honest with you. I mean, we're still learning. Like, I didn't think about, and which I should have, about that whole idea of them having 2 courses and then having to work on a dissertation or a research proposal defense and preparing for that defense while you're taking 2 courses. That didn't. Who were the Jaspers? Jaspers. It's an athletic bus just drove by.
Oh, I think they're the, isn't it a New York team?
It's
Manhattanville?
Manhattan. I
Yeah.
think it's either Manhattanville or Manhattan College.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't think of that. I didn't think about, which I really should have. I didn't think about a dissertation guide, that
Right.
really spelled everything out, which I think it's an absolute essential document to have.
Why are you not giving that to us?
I was gonna get to that because I know that
I think that would help.
our group. I was gonna say we're gonna go back and everybody knows everybody's topics,
Which is everything that's in that manual.
and
So
they're
you're
going
gonna have more
to
meetings.
they're going to bombard us with questions. What did you know? What do we have to
I
expect?
think we have got a lot of good answers.
Right, we
Yeah.
have answers, but without the guide, are you comfortable with us sharing with? We'll share what our project is, but I think people they might want more. Maybe we don't want them. We might not want them to have the guide because that's kind of our project.
Right.
I don't want you to get ahead of yourselves. I don't want you to dwell on that. I don't want you to be thinking about that. It's too early to be thinking about the requirements, the detailed requirements of the dissertation. I think it's appropriately introduced in the summer, and I think the timing is right. So I don't necessarily. I don't think it's appropriate right
I
now.
think you know what it is. I think there's a heightenedness of it because of this particular project that we're doing. Because the topic for everybody is the dissertation of practice, then we're trying to figure out what's the what is our problem that goes along with that. But everybody but we don't really know what goes into the dissertation of practice.
And
So that's what we've all struggled
I
with
think
for for our project that we're doing.
No one
research.
Some people have an idea of what it takes to write a dissertation. They don't, we all go on the internet and we look at articles and we read literature.
You know what you want to do, and I have this exercise for you in the summer. But if you want to relieve anxiety and you want to look at dissertations, we just purchased a software, in contract with this company ProQuest. And you could look up dissertations, and so you could put in topics, and you could read, if you want to read dissertations, you can read dissertations and see what goes into them. This whole action research dissertation, we put this course, as one of the first courses or in the lineup early on because we wanted you to develop the understanding of action research first, and that's what the Springer book is all about. And Springer, takes a different look at action research and different, but now, Trevor even says this to me. Now he's got the dissertation guide. Now he knows, and we didn't know that going in.
Right.
Maybe, quite honest, again, I'm being honest with you. Maybe we would have selected a different text, quite honestly.
I don't think it's necessarily the text. I think it's the topic. I think if we were doing traditional action research, where we were looking just at literature reviews on, like I brought up mindfulness before. If our group decided we were going to look at mindfulness in schools and how it affects fourth graders, we would do a literature review, we would have put out some surveys to our fourth graders, to parents, tried something, and then we would have been able to do this process. I think the unknown of the topic is what is causing our angst.
Okay, right.
That's what that's my personal opinion.
I think you're
I feel
right,
like that's
because
what we're getting.
people, we go and we all do our research, and it's not easy to find a lot of information that's very clear.
Specific for writer.
And for
we're trying to
writer
find it out
and
for
action research, there's a lot of different variants on it.
You're right.
So it's not necessarily very clear.
Right.
And then we get together as a group and we're just like, well, I saw this, well, I saw that, I saw this, and I saw that.
But that's good. See, that's
Yeah.
good. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so that's why we were asking about the guide, because when we just did some of our literature review, is we were able to pull up people's guides and find, we were actually looking at reports, not literature, on that part, but it's posted on their websites, their whole handbook.
Right.
And I'm assume eventually that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Or it's going to be in Canvas and you'll make it available to us that way or something. I don't know. But I think that's the piece, because there's a group that's doing, and I'm sure they'll talk to you about selecting a topic. Another group is creating interview questions and objectivity to the interview questions, and I'm not sure what the other groups are doing.
Not
to
sure
be honest
what
with you, but one is the
Data.
life balance.
Right, life
The
balance.
balance of doing your dissertation and how do you have that balance of life and job and everything else. But it was difficult to get to that point for us because we didn't know what questions to ask about the dissertation. So this was, I think, a really good for us. I think this has been very helpful.
Good.
Just understanding the process, where you're coming from, and so forth. So